If you're running trail cameras like this, you're not scouting. You're educating every mature buck on your property. Most hunters think trail cameras help them kill deer. In reality, they're doing the opposite a lot of the times. They're spooking deer, shifting patterns, and pushing movement to nighttime. If you've ever had a buck show up on camera and then they disappear, this is why. I'm gonna show you exactly how you can fix it. Without our partners, we could not bring this content to you for free. So as a thank you, I want you to support them. We have TrueLock choke tubes, we have usago.org, and then we have Buzzard Roost saddles. You can use code REVIVE. It's gonna get you 10% off, and it's also gonna let them know that you are saying thanks for them supporting Revive Outdoors. We'll have all their information in the video description below, so be sure to check them out and tell them thank you for supporting us here at Revive Outdoors Academy. Here's what's happening. Every time you check a camera, you're leaving pressure behind. Scent, noise, ground disturbance. Deer know when you were there. And mature bucks do not tolerate repeated intrusion. They don't need to see you, they just need to know something isn't right. So the mistake I see a lot of people make is checking their cameras like it's a part of your routine. Every few days, every week. Pulling cards just to see what's on there. That curiosity is gonna cost you deer. The more that you check it, the more you educate. So you need to treat your cameras like your stands. Low intrusion only. Check these cameras every 3 to 4 weeks at minimum. Even less in really high pressured areas where you're trying to get a buck to come in there because everybody else is pressuring him to that area. So you wanna use cell cameras as much as possible, and then only enter when the conditions are right, just like you would during a hunt. And here's the real mindset shift I want you to focus on. Trail cameras are not for entertainment, unless that's just what you enjoy. They are for decision making. If checking a camera doesn't lead to a change in your strategy, you didn't need to check it. Or if you didn't check it just because the batteries are low or something else is going on. The most that you ever really need to check it is only when something is wrong with it, which in my case a lot of times is the batteries are dead. And so what is going to happen is a buck is going to encounter you too much if you're going in there all the time, and he is going to shift to that nighttime pattern. You're going to think that he left, and he didn't. You just pressured him out of there, and it might be 50, 60 yards off, or he's going around the back of the camera, the front of the camera, because he's trying to check where you came from and seeing if you're there. So you want to make sure that you're doing this in a way that benefits you and doesn't educate him. This is the bigger problem. Most hunters place cameras where they want information, not where the deer are going to tolerate the pressure. So camera placement can either allow you to observe deer, or it can change their behavior. The mistake I see is people place cameras on main trails, they put them at eye level, they put them in the bedding area, or they put them directly on food sources. That is some of the worst places you can put them because it's going to educate a mature buck. Now, there are exceptions to this rule in every way, of course. There's places you can put them, and you have to know your deer herd where it's not putting pressure on them exactly where it matters the most, and you can move it around a little bit. But the main thing that you want to do to fix this is shift your camera strategy to a low impact observation. So you want to place these cameras on the edge of movement, not in the center of them. You want to angle them down trails and not directly facing them. A lot of times, if possible, put them 6 to 10 feet high. It's going to reduce the detection of them as well. And then you do not, absolutely do not put them in primary bedding. Keep them away from it. And the key principle here is going to be that you don't need perfect pictures. You just need usable information. So blurry movement data is better a lot of times than a perfect picture. If it's going to lead to disrupting a deer, you're going to rather have a blurry picture that doesn't disrupt them versus a clean, crisp image where they stare at it, their eyes glow, and then you never see them again. So deer notice cameras. They see them, they smell them, they react to them, especially mature bucks. So your goal is not visibility, it is to be invisible. So a good example of this would be, instead of placing a camera right on a scrape line, you back off 20 to 30 yards and angle it towards the trail leading into it. Now, Now, I'm a little bit different here when it comes to scrapes. I make these mock scrapes and I put a lot of different things into them, so they're so curious. They have to think that there's competition or new DNA being put out there. There's somebody coming in and invading their territory. So I'll put them on a lot of my mock scrapes for inventories, which we'll have a whole video dissecting that and how I do that. But I'll put them on these mock scrapes because these mock scrapes are communication hubs. So that is an example of what you can do, but just putting it on some random hot scrape that doesn't have any history, or you don't have any history, or you didn't create it, it can lead to them coming in and saying, whoa, something's wrong. You didn't do anything with the scrape, but put a camera on it. And so you are gonna take that hot spot and completely disrupt the pattern that's intact. So the goal is to keep that pattern intact, keep them on the same historical patterns without disrupting anything, so you can get more of that inventory and lead to more success. This is where most hunters are gonna fall apart. They collect the data, but they don't use it correctly. So information without a system is always going to lead to a bad decision. So the mistake that a lot of people make, they're hunting a buck just because he showed up once, or they're moving stands just because of one random photo. They're chasing all these daylight pictures without any contacts. You're reacting instead of planning. And so what you want to do is you want to use cameras to confirm patterns and not create them. So the system is going to be this: 3 simple steps. Step 1, identify likely movement based on terrain, bedding, and food. Step 2, place cameras to confirm the movement. And then step 3, only act when you see consistency. So a lot of times I'm going to be looking for those time patterns, the direction of travel, wind conditions tied to the movement, not just he's here. And another point I want to just point out here is a single daylight picture can mean everything or it can mean nothing. But multiple daylight photos means that there's probably some conditions that are going on that are actionable. So a good example of this is you get one daylight photo of a buck, you move over there to it, and instead just waiting it out and gathering more data, you go over there and you mess it up, you get in there on the wrong wind. So what I want you to do is I want you to get in there on a specific wind in a specific time window when the consistency tells you to. That's when you strike. Now you are doing a calculated approach and not an emotional one. If you fix this, your cameras are actually going to start helping you. So stop over checking the cameras, move the cameras to these low impact locations where you can get in and out with ease, usually has good cell service so the battery lasts longer, and then use data to confirm patterns and not just chase random movement. Trail cameras should make you more disciplined, not more reactive. If you've been struggling with deer going nocturnal or completely disappearing, this is going to be a big reason why. Fix your camera strategy before the season. Next, watch the video where I break down how to choose the right stand location using everything we've covered so far. Subscribe to Revive Outdoors Academy so you don't miss what's coming next.